he is going to be moderating the panel, and I would request him to introduce himself and the other panelists, so that we are all aware of their backgrounds and why they are here and what they're going to be discussing.
Very good afternoon to you all. And thank you, Gopal. I'm Conrad. And today our session is titled Winter Tales. So our discussion will be on discovering through documenting and imaging. And I would like to add imagining. So today we have 4 very special panelists here. And first I would like to call Nathaniel Nampoi Majau. He teaches in St. Anthony's Department of Mass Communication. He also heads the Northeast Archive Initiative. He's the director of the initiative. And he's engaged in digitizing and documenting materials of historical value from across the state. So I welcome Nathaniel. Please have a seat. Next, I would like to call Badesman Karmaplang. Would you like to please come on stage? Badesman Karmaplang is a well-known figure, a well-known literary figure as well here in Shillong. He's published several books, and currently he serves as the head of Department of Creative Arts and Cultural Studies at Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. Welcome, Badesman. I would like to call Ahmed Hussain. Ahmed Hussain, he's become part of lore, I should say. He's a legendary personality here in Shillong. He's a well-known photographer and has been practicing for more than, I think, 50 years. And if you may know Karu's studio, you know, that's the studio he started back in 1971, just after the war. So welcome, Ahmed, to the session today. Please have a seat, Ahmed. And lastly, but not the least, Tarun Bhatia. He's a filmmaker, poet, activist, you name it. I think he loves everything that is rooted to the ground. And we shall know more about them as we move on further in our discussion. Thank you, Tarun, for being here. So I think we'll begin today's session with, I think, Nat, since the theme is on documenting, imagining, and reimagining, actually, we are talking about how we record our own history. What you are witnessing right here, right now, would become memories the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line. And this will become part of history. And how we record them, how we document them, is as important as the memories that we would carry, as important as the event that happened. So I would like to ask Nathaniel, I mean, if you can share a bit, maybe enlighten us a bit on what documenting is, archiving is. For a layperson, it is a daunting word when we talk about documenting, documentary, and going through the entire process of actually archiving and processing them. So it would be great if you can just enlighten us a bit on that, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Bar Conrad. Thank you to the organizers, Congrida, Bar Gopal. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm really honored to be part of this panel. And whenever we are invited to any event, we always like to reply positively because we like to share about what we do in the Northeast India AV Archive. And I just have a few slides that I want to show you. And I just request Hemant to just go through the slides. For those of you who haven't heard about us, we're called the Northeast India Audiovisual Archive. We're quite a young center sort of organization under the Mass Media Department of St. Anthony's College. And we are part of a larger project which is funded by the Sasakawa Peace Foundation from Japan called Preserving and Sharing Histories and Memories of Northeast India. So we have a very small office in the campus of St. Anthony's College. It's in the Department of Mass Media, and to your right you can see a few cubicles there, which is open to the public. It's free, so any material that we have, you can view them through these computers which are there. We also digitize a lot of work, a lot of material every day. We digitize a lot of old cassette tapes, magnetic tapes like VHS cassettes, mini DVs. I'm not going to talk too much about our activities, but I'd like to share a bit of our experiences in these past few years and what type of material that we've come across and how also we've learned, and hopefully inspire more people to come forward, maybe to look through their parents' and grandparents' cupboards, finding photographs and tapes, and digitize them, and making sure that they last for a much longer time. So if you're just going through the slides, you can see that this is the work that we do. Every day we sort of do a lot of cataloging work and digitizing work. That's one of our interns who's cataloging in one of the cubicles that are there. And we've also been fortunate to be trained by a film archivist from the National Film Archive of Tokyo. And with this training, actually, we, in the past few years, what we've been able to do is, with the help of Batarun, also locate the celluloid film of the first Khasi film that was made by Hamlet Bara and his team. And because of the training also that we've received, we were able to send these films for digitization to Chennai in 2K. And we had recently in the Meghalaya International Film Festival, we had a screening of this film. You know, it was amazing watching this film. I remember a few years back, there was a very sort of amateur, I wouldn't say amateur, a sort of a video of Sinchukuri Kilaipo's aim shot off the screen of a very small festival called Small Town Festival, I think. But you know, when we watched the film in the entire film, after we digitized, we learned a lot about Bak Hamlet, because you know, it's quite interesting that Bak Hamlet actually shot this film not only in black and white, but towards the end of the film also it turned to color. So you know, we were having this discussion that maybe perhaps Bak Hamlet, after shooting the first few days, maybe the first few weeks, got some more funding and decided that he'll buy color stock and then shoot the rest of the film. For me, it's an amazing film because not only was it the first film, but after hearing actors, after we interviewed the actors, and after hearing about the process and how Bak Hamlet went about making this film, you know, it was really interesting. And I think Batarun can share maybe a bit more on this. Can you just go to the next slide, please? So this is the black and white first few parts of the film, and if you go to the next one, it sort of turns to color. This film is also available in the Northeast India AV Archive. We also have had exhibitions in various places. So what we would like to do is not only house the material in the archive, but take out what we have and go and show the photos and videos that we have in the archive. So this exhibition was in Siju, and one thing interesting that happened in Siju is one of the people that saw these photos actually recognized a photo of his grandfather when he was young, and he sort of called us and he said, just hang on, I think this is grandfather. This is my grandfather, I'm going to pick him up. So he disappeared for about 15 minutes and he came back in his tempo and brought his grandfather. And then, of course, his grandfather was very excited to see his own photograph. And from there, actually, we learned quite a lot about the river Simsang and the community fishing that used to happen there. Can we go next? We've also been fortunate to receive some VHS tapes from Ukhrul. These 4 tapes actually were contributed by one of our researchers in Ukhrul called Chan, and I'm just going to get this name. And this film, these 4 tapes belong to a film called Mother of Khaya Wok, and it's made by a pioneering Thangkul filmmaker. His name is Ringmi Raleng. There's an interesting story about this film because after he shot this film and edited it, he actually lost the master tape. These four tapes are actually the only remaining sort of footages. So what we're trying right now is trying to digitize this so that he can re-edit this film again. It was shot in 1992-93. Can we just go to the next slide? Apart from, of course, digitizing all these tapes, we also get a lot of wedding tapes. So this is a screenshot from one of the wedding tapes that we got, Happy Wedding. So you must know that like in Shillong, most of weddings were shot on these legacy media, VHS and mini DV. And off late, we've been getting quite a lot of requests from people bringing their VHS tapes for digitization. Can you go to the next one? We've also been very fortunate to meet Bak Kintiu Borwar. And you may know Bak Kintiu Borwar for his museum, but you may not know that he was actually quite an avid sort of videographer. This is him with his white hat on the first Kinchi expedition. So he was the leader of that team in 1986 that traversed the Kinchi River. And what is interesting as we were digitizing these tapes is that he's the only person that I knew as a sort of amateur videographer who would always talk as he was shooting his footage. So he'd give a running commentary. And then we asked him why. He said, so that I don't forget, and people, when they view this tape, they'll know the information. So he would pan the camera, and he'll introduce himself, and then he'll also introduce the location, which are, very interesting information that he gives out. And of course, he explains either the dance or the village or the type of basket weaving that happens. Can you go to the next one, please? Yeah, so this is part, again, stills from Bak Kintiu Borwar's footage. And of course, I'll just end with these last few slides. These photos belong to Kongpa Limon Lingdo. And she actually had this massive album of photos dating back to the 1930s. This photo was taken in 1933 in KGP school. She's there also. And I always thought that the only people who took photos at that time were the Brits, but there were many Khasi people also taking photographs, and that's her, Kongpa Limon, with her friends. And every day for us, as we get these contributions, as we scan, we're always learning from the material that we have, and of course we're very eager to share with everybody who visits the archive. This is another one which her uncle took, actually, of the grandstand there at Polo. I believe that building still exists there in the CRPF camp. Yeah, this is the last image of the presentation. Thank you, Mark Coronet.
Thank you, Nand. I think that's quite exhaustive, within a short time. But it's so fascinating to, go through materials and to reconnect ourselves with materials which may directly, have something, to have, to be familiar with yourself, or something from the material which is familiar with your own family members or with your own town, your place. And I think these materials, they much more than being of historical value as in the time that it was taken. I think it again shed so much light. For example, the CRPF structure, which most of us have actually don't know. Actually, we don't even know about it, but a part of it survives. I think to this day. I think so. I think that is encouraging enough for us to actually try to re-explore our own little places and see what more we can actually discover. So from there, I think I'll move to Tarun, because he's been a documentary filmmaker, and he's been capturing so much of ordinary lives around the whole region. Actually, he's been traveling a lot. So I would like to ask Tarun, is it important that we try to record moments of mundane things around us, or even say ordinary daily chores that we go through every day? Is it important that we record things that happen around us?
Hello. Thank you, Conrad, and I'm not very good at these panel discussions, so please do excuse me. Taking cue from what Nat was saying, there is this whole obsession these days with archives and recording and those kind of things, with heritage. And someone like me, I'm not obviously either a trained historian or an archivist. I'm an image maker. I make images, both stills and films. But much more than that, I see my work as a role I play in society at large, as an active citizen. As when I make images, images are made for communicating, having a conversation about what I feel, how I'm responding to my times. So I'm always although I have been sadly associated with many of the archiving and efforts in Shillong, but I've always been a bit skeptical about the idea of archive, about idea of a museum, about idea of an heritage. Because I think these are certainly, and especially now, where if you look at the country we live in, where idea of archive, idea of what you preserve, idea of history itself is under challenge. Certain kind of things are made heritage, isn't it? So you have heritage of a house. I love this idea of Shillong. You have old Assam type house. And that is the heritage. Is it? Or is it heritage which belongs to certain class of people? Who speaks of this heritage? Me and my wife, we have renovated an old Assam type house because we can afford to. Who cares about, for instance, I was standing around and hearing this thing. Oh, there is a street food stall down here. While in Police Bazaar, there are street vendors and hawkers you hate who will never be part of this conversation of that. And this is where we need to talk about what relationship archive or heritage, these kind of things have with our everyday life. Everyday life meaning which kind of city we want. For instance, recently, and you can see some of the stuff from that effort. There's a digital Shillong effort with historian Dr. Andrew May, Bar Desmond, Nathaniel, Northeast India AV Archive, INTAC. So we were having a kind of a launch, and one person got up and asked, will digital Shillong talk about the dark stories of Shillong? Because moment you think of archive or heritage, you start thinking of good things, isn't it? The best of Shillong we will show. We will not talk about 1979. Will those things be in the archive? Or, for instance, now, what the government at center is doing, teaching you about, for instance, okay, there should be syllabus of culture of Northeast. What will constitute that? And these are the questions which I'm interested in my, sadly that's the only craft I know, which is photographing and filming. When I photograph, and I've been photographing, I'm a stupidly, I have photographed every day of my life for last 14 years. There is not a single day I have not photographed. I think that everything is photographable. Everything can be turned into an image. But why I do that is to understand, not only to fix. So, we all talk of heritage, and I want to end with this small story. I would suggest that everyone should walk out of Wards Lake, just walk across. And if you look at the 1925 map, which exists in this exhibition, there is a place called Taraghar. Do you know where Taraghar has gone? Taraghar has gone, it has been broken down completely. Broken down to do what? We can talk of all heritage, all image making, but if these things do not help us question the kind of society we want to live in, kind of city we want to make, there's no point. So Taraghar, what happened last to last year, a friend of Angela said that I want to come and look for Taraghar. So we wanted to ask him why, because he's this South Indian from Calcutta. He said, my mother used to remember growing up in Taraghar, and she wanted her ashes to be spread in Taraghar. So we go to Taraghar, we spread the ashes. Then the people who work there, who are casual workers, who are temporary workers, who are paid not even minimum wages, they started talking about it and saying, they're going to break it, we'll lose our job. So, and then they said that, people don't even know that this place has lots of things. There is a grave here in Taraghar. And no one had never encountered that there's a grave. And these workers, who you think do not know history, the laboring classes of the city, they take us, and they had actually looked after a small gravestone belonging to, I had a photograph and I thought, but I wouldn't show the thing, it'll take time, of a young girl called Zoe. I don't know who she was. Her grave is there. Now it's covered with concrete. So you can fund all the heritage things. You can have all the calendars in the world. You can have all the archives. You can have all the museums. But they will have no meaning till these things are converted into a living history where people make sense of their lives with it. And that's what is my interest, about photographing or archiving or thinking about history.
Wow. I think that's deep. And yeah, thank you, Tarun. I think there's always a question of whether there's a class distinction when we try to go back to history, and what do we attempt to do? Are we selectively trying to pick something from history which we think that would benefit us, and leave something that is unsavory, or which is not in the light that we wish to portray ourselves as, we dump them in the bins? I mean, it's a question I think we need to keep asking ourselves. But Desmond, when we come back to folk tales and folklores, again, there's so much to actually hark back on the past. But is there any an inkling or suspicion that maybe even our folklores are censored in a way. We talk about for example, tales. Probably tales have been passed down through the oral tradition. So in the process of being passed down, probably a few things may have been erased, or being censored because it does not bode well for that particular time when the moment when the tale has been passed down. Can you? I mean, is there any such doubt in mind when we think about our own tales and laws, or even recent stories about our city, maybe urban legends? Maybe you can talk more about. I think you'll have more to say.
Thank you, Conrad, for that question. Uh, Starting with the first speaker, Nathaniel, who spoke about archiving, and Tarun, who questioned the phenomena of heritage, the conception of heritage, the notion, the idea that we have of heritage, and addressing the question that you put across to me about tales. I think we can weave all these three together, bring the three strands together, and start from the premise of engaging with this non-material phenomenon that we call memory. You see, memory is something that is one of the most significant attributes of human beings. And especially in the Khasi context, it assumes a very significant role due to the etymological construction of the word memory. In Khasi, we use the term Kanmao, which means we compute our memory through stone, or we use stone as a metaphor for memory. It's very interesting that Nathaniel spoke about archiving. Now, that is one way of implementing memory. Tarun spoke about heritage. There are various ways, there are various strategies that we use in implementing memory. I'm consciously using the word implementing memory. And tales is also one way in which we implement memory. It is true that, in the transmission of folklore, because to briefly explain what folklore connotes, the term folklore was coined by an English antiquarian whose name was William Thoms. Now, he combined the word folk, means people, and lore, which means unwritten knowledge. So he used these two words and formed a compound word, folklore, in order to denote the various unwritten traditions, the unwritten knowledge that people sustain through memory. So in the transmission of folklore, or in the transmission of a very important component of folklore, which is folktale, yes, it is true, and it has been, there is evidence to prove that, tales undergo procedures and processes of sanitization. Historically, we know, as a folklorist, I know historically that even the tales collected by the Grimm brothers underwent huge and tremendous sanitization to make them palatable to children. When they were collected, when they were collected, they were they contain elements of witchcraft, elements that were, at that point of time construed as gruesome, and therefore they had to be sanitized to make them suitable for the ears of children, and that's how the Kinder Un House Merchant, that's the book that was produced by the Grimm brothers, is being received now. Okay. Talking about urban legends, since we are very close to a water body here, which is Watts Lake, or Nanpalok as we call it in Khasi, I would like to provide the example of an urban legend or a cycle of urban legends that I've been working on, that I've written about also, which revolves around men, usually men, who are believed by the community to have fish or fairy spouses. In fact, growing up in Lajumkra, we were very close to the Wa'umkra, and I knew of a person whom the entire Shnong, the entire Limkra used to believe that, oh, he's a Ngat Puri, or he has a Puri wife. Okay? And he used to disappear for days altogether, going to the Wa'umkra, and he used to reappear only after a week or more. And when he does that, people make, sometimes humorous comments, though he's back from his from his visit. He had gone to visit his Puri family. Now, the reason I'm citing this particular urban legend is because nowadays you do not hear about the circulation of these urban legends about Ngat Puri, or people or men who are believed to have Puri spouses, anymore. These legends are finished because we have also finished the Umkra river. We have destroyed it. We have polluted it. And therefore, the river does not sustain not only the Puri, but does not sustain these urban legends anymore. See, so one dimension of that collective memory that we have is finished. So I can come back, if we move on to the next part of the discussion.
That's very interesting again. When we talk about legends, the spirit of the legend dies with the place attached to it. I think that's very profound actually when we think about, we are having this festival, Go Green, and what is the slogan? Come green, go green. So we are, we are talking about being environmentally conscious, being conscious of our surroundings. So I think, it's a very important, point actually to think over again. I'll move on to Ahmed for now. Ahmed has traveled extensively in the past, and much against, his parents' wishes. He left home to chase after the desire of his heart, that is to take photographs of the places he's visited. So I would like to ask Ahmed, what was that fire? What is it that actually made you leave the house, go against your parents' wishes, and travel to remote parts of Arunachal? In those days, I think they call it the Northeast Frontier Agency. So that must have been a very challenging thing for you and a very gutsy thing for you to take back then.
Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, after my college, I wanted to be a photographer. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. After my college, I wanted to become a photographer, which is against the wish of my family. and they didn't like it that I should become a photographer, but I was adamant for this one. So after college, I searched that what to do, what to do. This is the thing. In the meantime, I got a chance, and that is a chance, you know, that I got a job. Nobody wanted to go to that job because this is the only for 1 year. And the pay is also a fixed pay. So I joined that job and the pay was 400 rupees. So when I joined the job, that is one in NEFA, and my work was, you know, to document all the life of NEFA people for village monograph. So anyway, I have when I joined this thing, I just every condition was there that I should be have my own camera, own equipments, everything. The government will provide me only the film and papers, nothing else, and chemicals. So I started the job, and my first job was with one anthropologist. His name was, he was a famous anthropologist. His name was Dr. B.K. Rai Burman. So that was my first stepping stone, and that was my luck that I got to join with that anthropologist. So my first tour was in Rupa village near Bomdila. So the village was wonderful, and it's surrounded by all the hills, all the stone walls, and they have got 3-4 gates, and all the gates were very decorative. So anyway, first day when we have to go to foothills to Bomdila, and in the foothills we were stuck up because the POW at that time, it was after 1962, after Chinese aggression. The POW of Indian armies was coming from Bomdila, so the road was stopped. And then he said that let us do the job. Let us go to one place over where it is very near, that is called Doimara. There is a winter camp of Sedupens. So we went there and took the photographs. Then he told me that you take this photograph, that photograph. So after, when he's telling me you take this one, I just took and stop it. When he told me to take that one, I took and stopped it. Then he said that you have to be very frequent all these things. You know, you cannot stop like this. You take all over the place as you like, you know, because you remember you are coming over here for once and not for second times. So that is the things he taught me at that time. So I just started this thing, and I become very extravagant later on in my life also. Anyway, we just took that photograph, then we came to Zero, that is in Subansiri division of NEFA. And I found that this is a paradise for me, you know. And when I came to Zero, then one lady was there. She was my guide. Her name was Yami. So anyway, I started this thing, and I continued my job in NEFA for 3 years. But anyway, for some other reasons, I didn't like this thing. I resigned the job. And then I went to Calcutta, and I became the commercial photographer over there. Then over there, Calcutta has also become very bad, because at that time some other government has come. They started stop all these factories and other things. So my advertising job was just hampered there. Then I came back to Shillong, and I started my studio, Karus Photographer. Then after starting my studio, That was started in 1971. Then in 71, I joined with the Bangladesh Mukti Fauj. And with this Mukti Fauj, I just took their photographs in war and the relief camp, all the places. And I went with them to the war 2-3 times over there. Then I came in 1972 Meghalaya inauguration, state inauguration. I took that photographs. So after that, I just wanted to go to different place. First I covered Meghalaya a little bit here and there. Then I went to Mizoram, then Nagaland, then Manipur. Then all the place I just took the photographs. All the 8 states of Northeast, I took these photographs. And later on, I just continued this things till 2010. So I have got so many things. In the meantime, one of my friend, he wanted to take my documentary, little small documentary, and he put it in the net. When he put in the net, then one lady in America, she is the professor of California University, she seen this thing and she wanted to meet me. She came to India, she came to my place, Shillong, and she took my documentary film. Then after she continued with the documentary film 2-3 years, then she told me that, you see, one thing, Mr. Hussain, you have got so many negatives. So after you, everything will be nobody will just take care of this thing. Why don't you do this archive? I will take care of that one. So I agreed to that. Then she started take the note of this negatives and other things. So he sent 3% from Guwahati, and for 3 months that they took the note of my document, negatives, positives, transparency, everything. Then she told me that after taking this thing, I will do this digital thing. In the meantime, after she left, then the boys who came over here to document all this thing, they told me that, uncle, how many photographs you have taken? No. I said, no, I never counted how many photographs. Then he told me that you have taken 18,000 photographs. So I was also very surprised. So my one thing, after that, from Northeast Archives, Mr. Nathial, he invited me for the inauguration and he requested me for my negatives. So I told him that, already I have committed to that American lady. So she will be documenting all this thing, the archive. So after that, the lady said, I am just limited to this 18,000. After that, you will do this thing. So whatever is left out, I just give to Mr. Nathial. And there also, I think it is about 2,000, like that. It is still I have got more this thing. So I have got so many things and experience and all this thing. But one experience I wanted to share with you. When I went to Zero so many times. I went with Mrs. Indira Gandhi also. I covered Arunachal inauguration also with our President Giri. So many memorable things I have covered in my life. But I just wanted to share with you with Yami. Yami was a lady of Apatani tribes. And in 1963, at that time, Apatani tribes, the ladies, they have got all the face mark, tattoo mark in their face, and two nose. They used to have two nose plug like this. They started from the early things. They started with the all the wooden things. Then, when they become the aged, at that time it become two pin plugged in their nose. But I say like this because it happens like this, that the other tribes, they used to take this Apatani ladies and they elope that one, like for the things of that, they used to make their face ugly like this. So anyway, Yami was my guide, and whenever I used to go to any place in Apatani villages, I used to take Yami with me. So anyway, it happens, and then after that, I left the job, I started my own things. Then in 2004, I got the assignment from Don Bosco Museum to take the image of statues of Apatani, Khasi, Mompas, and Rabhas. So one thing I just wanted to tell you, that is I forgotten, that whatever I was in Nepal, I had to give back them all the negatives, positives. I couldn't keep anything with me. So anyway, so I just went to Apatani village in 2004. Then one guide was there with me. I told him, I know one lady, Yami, so she used to stay near the bazaar. So I would like to meet her. So the guide told me, it is with so long years, how can I take you there? Anyway, I will see if I can see her or not. Then one day that guide told me, Acha, you come with me in the evening. And she took to me one house, that is a Apatani house, a modern house. The hearth is in between, and tin roof, wooden plank. Then I entered the house, one lady came near to me, and he just held my hand and has told me, Hossain Sahib kaisa hai? Aap kaisa hai? Then I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't recognize you. Have I met you ever? She told me, yes, so many times. So I told her that you please tell me your name. She told me, yes, my name is Yami. I was just surprised that, yes, Yami, where's your nose plug? No nose plug. Then she told me, I searched you so many times to have my old photographs, but this nose plug has been made a plastic surgery, and there's no nose plug. That is the things one experience I told you. So in that way, I just wanted to tell you that I've just gathered so many experience in Nagaland, Mizoram. Mizoram, I just toured immensely, and no place of Mizoram I left. So this is the thing I just wanted to tell you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Probably you never realized that all the photographs that you had taken so many years back would be much sought later, and they hold so much value right now. So, did you ever think that the photographs that you were taking back then would be so important right now?
Yes. I never, actually, hello, can you hear me? Actually, it will make it such a big history. I never thought of that one. Actually, there's so many things that in Garu Hills, I just tell you that the Garu that they used to carry the orange basket, it is very different from other place also. This is the basket is as big as the height of the man. That is the great thing. There is no more over here. Whatever I have taken, this is all lost. So this way, that is become archiving value has got much more than that I have seen. And another things that Apatani I have seen, they're so beautiful. The girls were so beautiful, what I say, that after just removing all these tattoo marks and the nose plug also. And in that way, different tribes, different things has gone. But the history, it is beyond my imagination that so many history has been, I just come from my cameras also. This is a main thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But Desmond, so we've heard about Ahmed's accounts of his travels, his meetings with people, and then re-meeting them after so many years. I think such accounts, you in every homes, even here, accounts from elderly people, from people from the villages about their daily lives. Those accounts, I think they give out so much information, whether it's about the past or the present times. So, is there any way we can, do you think that they will become part of folklore, or that is one point. Another thing is those accounts. Don't you think very important? It is very important that we should actually, record, store, preserve those accounts. It could be, just a family sitting over a fire and somebody telling something about a place that they have visited or about something that happened. But coming from a folklore perspective, then how do we actually preserve even those little talks that happen inside the homes or among friends or community members?
Thank you, Conrad. If we are taking, if we are considering, orality, I think the best way to conserve orality is to live it. I have a slight problem with the word preservation. I'd rather use conservation, because when you preserve something, it means you're creating a zoo paradigm, what I would call a zoo paradigm. You want to put something in a zoo so that you can go and enjoy it, seeing that particular object or that particular phenomenon. So folklore started as a discipline. It started with antiquarianism, which is this sometimes even obsession with the past. But it has taken a very different and a very radical trajectory in the sense that it has transcended, what we call the antiquarian paradigm. It has gone beyond that, and now we recognize that folklore is about things that we see around us. It is very contemporaneous, and the best way to document it is to live it, actually. Okay, so I would like to talk and share here about an experience, or it's a current experience, because I'm working with this lady from Bhoi. She's a weaver. Her name is Ta Makri. Now, she single-handedly has been responsible for creating something like 9 or 10 typologies, 9 or 10 weaving motifs. And one of them, the most fascinating one, is called Dulong Burni. Now, I was quite intrigued by Dulong Burni, which, according to her, meant Bernihard Bridge. Now, I asked her, I mean, how on earth is the Bernihard Bridge, created as a motif? Then she told me, listen, when I was a young girl, my mother and my aunt used to take me to the Bernihard market, and I was struck, I was fascinated by the wooden bridge at that point of time. She's talking about the 1930s. I was struck by the beauty of the wooden bridge that spanned the river Untro, and it haunted me completely. It recurred in my dreams. I experienced visitations of all kinds of this bridge. And it was only later on when I learned weaving, in the lab, learned weaving from my mother, that I thought that I should create a motif which would symbolize, at least, it would be a symbolic memorialization of the bridge. And therefore, she has created this design, which she has named Dulong Burni. Okay. Now, what is fascinating about this is that this individual used a childhood memory, in order to transfigure, in a manner of speaking, that memory into a motif, something which is very much material. Okay, so a non-material thing becomes material. So, and this, transformation of the non-material to material is something very, very phenomenal, because it requires imagination, it requires artistry, it requires skill, and most of all, it requires that abiding, belief, in the efficacy of memory, and how that gets transposed into something which is material. And now this particular motif is being used and copied by other weavers in her village as well as the surrounding villages. So this is a creation, I think it is one of the best examples of creativity.
Hello. Thank you, Desmond, for that story about Dulong Burni, because one of the things which we need to think about is this idiotic distinction between art and craft. Almost a hierarchy we set up between art and craft. So someone like me, who is a photographer, who actually creates things which are reproducible, I would claim myself to be an artist. Whereas someone who makes a basket or is a weaver is a craftsperson. And this kind of a distinction, and this is what we need to think about, is that for that lady, like for instance, if I painted the Burni Bridge, I would be an artist. Whereas she, a weaver, would be a craftsperson who needs to reproduce again and again the same pattern, isn't it? This is the most, and this raises the question about authenticity. What is an authentic Naga craft? What is an authentic Bihari craft? There's nothing. With an artist, you don't ask that question, do you? We are supposed to be renewing our painting or photography or film on a daily basis, isn't it? That's what makes me a great artist, if I can show you something new. But for a craftsperson, you are imprisoning her, because you have set up a hierarchy of that. And that's why this idea and the the contemporariness of memory, because we, whether it's oral history or that, it's being said in the present. So our vocation as an artist and people's vocation as craft, we need to think about the distinction. And I want to tell you a story. And behind that story is obviously inspiration of the kind of work Desmond has been doing almost in a lonely kind of a thing for a long time. It's a film I did on the borders of Meghalaya and Assam, the Block 2 area. So they do this shokaba, and they were singing, and we didn't know that they were going to sing. So they started making up this song, and that's what they said. We made up that song. This song is mixture of all different languages, Hindi, Bhoi, and Khasi, and English, and Karbi, all kinds of mixture of this song. So I'm very happy I come back with a film, I translate, and translating is very difficult, but finally we do. After a year or so, say friends from that village came over here, and they said, I asked them, why are you here? So we are going to do our cultural song. So I said, oh, cultural song? Which song are you going to do? So they said the song which we sang for your film. But I said, you made it up that day. He said, no, now we have written it down. So now it has become our cultural song. So what is the authentic Bhoi culture? Is that the making up at that moment, or writing it down and then recording it for AIR, which in 50 years' time someone will discover and suddenly will say, this is the ancient Bhoi culture. So, let's think about these questions.
Okay. That's something I think we need to engage more. If the crowd, if anyone from the member of the audience wishes to say something, ask anything, please do. I'll hand over the mic. You can just raise your hand, and we can actually engage in a conversation, because we would like to have an exchange of ideas and thoughts. So, coming back to you, Tarun, again, archiving and recording the words preservation and conservation. We've talked about Taraghar, but the idea of a living memorialization of things, of the past, or talking about the present. Now, how do we know when we're making a sane decision that we are not objectifying something as a piece, as something which is put on display for people to just come and see, but something to appreciate, to probably imbibe, to actually absorb, in your own way, you've been presented, that is presented before you. So because we are talking about memories and the past, recollections of the past, reimagining how the past was like, and even our present moment, how it would, be presented later in future. So it is a difficult thing for us to actually, rack our brains around the idea of making that sane, proper decision of how to actually approach those objects we think of as materials of value, of materials that hold so much information for us.
Thank you, Conrad. I remember there's a friend of ours, she's an anthropologist called Gertrude Lamare. And Gertrude wrote a very famous piece, very interesting piece about Monolith Festival and the Khasi Heritage Village. I've never been to a Monolith Festival, and she wrote a piece about it, about constructing, who ascribes what that heritage is, what the value of that heritage is, what house is the ideal Khasi house type or a Maram house type or that. Recently, I just went to Hornbill Festival. And Hornbill Festival is a festival of festivals. That's how it's advertised. And I was going to enter the festival, and on the left-hand side, I see Indian Army Morung. Morung, which is a bachelor's dormitory, which embodies within itself memories of people, of Naga people. Suddenly, Indian Army has set up a Morung there. And it says Morung. I actually photographed it, and I got heavily photographed by the army people. Then I enter Hornbill Festival. It's a great place, you know, they have made morungs and people are dancing. Because I'm a Bihari, I understand Hindi very well. There were lots of Bihari spectators who were talking in Hindi. They were photographing themselves with the valiant Naga tribes with such attitude, saying कि अब तो वो सुधर गए हैं. They have been reformed. They were travel vloggers who were walking around Hornbill Festival, taking selfies and asking a Sema man who is standing in front of his morung to turn around so that they could take selfie with his bare bottom. Is this the way we want to ascribe value to our culture? Or whether we want certainly a different way of engaging with our culture and history, where everything is not made packaged for us to, you know, we just go there and say, Acha, I have seen Khasi culture today. Or I have seen a Bihari culture today. People have to we have to go beyond the touristy notion of what culture can be. Nowadays, what culture is being decided by what shall attract people to come and buy that culture. And this is not, and that's why I like this idea when someone was introducing this, it is about local people. But even there, we need to understand that children should be going, not coming to Wards Lake, they should be going to Sindai, they should be traveling, our young kids should be looking at history which are there all around. I was, just yesterday I was in Borghat in the temple. I just said that, you know, my children say, we don't have any stone things. You go to Sindai. How do we then create a living experience of our culture? Not package it. Moment you package it, it's not culture. It's a product. And there is a difference between product and culture. Culture is always living, product is dead. So let's start that conversation, because my experience, and that's when I realized what Gertrude was writing about when she wrote about the Heritage Village and Monolith Festival. Because I experienced it in Hornbill. If you understood the kind of things people were saying while making their travel vlogs or taking the pictures, you would have been incensed. But you can't get incensed because you have to be good for the tourist, good for an outside gaze, isn't it?
Okay, I'll take a giant leap and then move on to Nathaniel. And I will just come back to something very current and something which is actually happening. That is, we have set up a small exhibition here called the Archived and Image section. So if you find time, you can revisit it again. Okay, and I would like Nathaniel to probably share a bit about the Shillong Digital Project and what what is possible and what are the potential of the project.
Thanks, Conrad. I think I'll leave that to Desmond and Tarun to explain. But I'd just like to add, of course, invite everybody to visit the exhibition that's there. And I was actually, again, thinking about today's, Winter Tales theme is Come Green, Go Green. I'd just like to put in this point that, if you look at the 1925 map of Shillong, you'll see a lot of names that we don't hear about now, a lot of English names, but you will also notice that there are rivers in the map, and they have names like the Wa Soklur also that's there, which unfortunately now has become a drain. So no, you know, it's. I think that's one thing that we should also, you know, try to take back from at least the exhibition, is try to learn a bit about history and you know, how can we sort of learn from the material that's there also. Coming to Shillong Digital Archive Directory is I don't know. Probably I'll allow Desmond to explain it more and Tarun. Yeah.
Okay. Should I ask Tarun first? Yeah, to elaborate further on the project, please.
Hello. Yeah. If you haven't seen, please do walk around. It's a project, it's a kind of a, not a project, project has an end point. It is a kind of ongoing process of creating a kind of a public archive, a living archive, a kind of a, you know, a record of our experience, our memories of this town we live in, Shillong. So there are a few examples there, but there are more things. You please also, you can go to our website, which is SDAD, and Desmond will explain the significance of the name, .omeka.net. So for an example, we have 2 ongoing lists which are there, and for which I invite everyone to contribute to that list. One is list of restaurants and eating places in Shillong from late 19th century to present. And please do go over it, and we expect, if you liked a small hole in the wall place where your grandmother ate, that also is interesting to us. Even Morello Bakery, about which there is an entry here. And Morello Bakery, for instance, can anyone tell me where Morello Bakery was? Do you know where Morello Bakery was? Very famous Italian bakery. It is the Raps Mansion, and the whole area behind it was Morello Bakery. So there is an entry there. So please do contribute to that list. And there is second list, which is, again, we expect people to contribute, which has been a fascinating. We are trying to build up a database, not database, a kind of collection of names of bands and musicians from Shillong, not only people who sang in English, but people who sang in Bengali, in Khasi, in all kinds of. So we have an entry of almost around now 300 more things, so please do add. So, and anything which you remember, which you think is interesting about this city, this will be a place. And where what we are trying to do is that these memories do not remain discrete from each other. So they get tagged so that you can actually find your memory of your grandfather, for instance, and suddenly you realize your grandfather was also singing. And through that song, so we hope that over time, new kind of pathways appear in the city. You realize that suddenly that, you know, a play on Tirot Singh happened in 1946 and was done in Bengali, which there is going to be an entry about that.
But Desmond?
Yes, Stad is the Khasi word for confluence. You know, when 2 rivers meet at a certain point, so that that space is called Stad. And we meaning Professor Andrew May, who teaches history at the University of Melbourne, this idea germinated in at Melbourne University when I was there briefly for a teaching stint. And this idea of creating a digital archive that will consist of photographs and you know, sound, writings, reflections, ideas, memories, and memorates about Shillong city. And so this effort is called SDART, that is the Shillong Digital Archive Directory. And now you can, you know, we have, I'm not exactly sure how much we have in the collection. 1300. That's very encouraging, because we invite and we strongly encourage you, to also send in, your contributions to SDAD. It is available on the we have our website. It's available, and anything that you think is interesting, about your family, about your locality, you may please contribute to this effort. One of an abiding interest that I've had is in the toponymy of our Shillong city. That is the lore of place names. I mean, I'm intrigued by this name Riyad Samthia. I mean, why was it called Riyad Samthia, and why was Waindo also given that particular name? So this would actually provoke. I would like to, provoke, especially those of you who are young, to talk to people, talk to your elders in the family and so on, in the community, so that, we get, we get this information, and we can contribute to this corpus of material that we already have. There is a place called Wat Phom Dingiem, which is very close to St. Anthony's College. Now that was at some point of time renamed Jacob's Ladder. I wonder why. But I thought Wat Phom Dingiem, sounds a lot better. And there used to be a rivulet, there used to be a brook that started from somewhere in Lajam Kra, and it runs down Wat Phom Dingiem, and it finally it goes and joins the Wat Phom Kra. There's also a place called Demthring, which is so poetic, where the herons have landed. So if you think about these names, toponymy, the lore of place names, the history, you will discover something very, very fascinating about our own city. Okay, so I strongly encourage those of you, especially the young, to go to sdad.omeka.net. Okay, it's sdad.omeka.net, and there you'll see for yourselves, the contributions that have been given by many people, and please look upon this effort as a community-based effort. It requires community work. Okay, so please do visit this site.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to stress more on this, that it's community-driven, and we would like to encourage anyone interested or who has some interesting thing to share can go to the website, or you can go over there to the exhibition, and there's a QR code. You can scan it and gain access to the website, and you'll find all the instructions and how to upload and contribute to the initiative. Right. Anything else, Nat, you would like to add? Anyone would wish to say anything? Any questions?
Just one question. I mean, fascinating listening to all of you, and particularly Mr. Ahmed Hussain. I mean, you are a living piece of history, so seriously. It's so wonderful to listen to you. I just wanted to know that the 18,000 photographs, negatives that were taken, were there no copies given to you? You have copies with you?
Hello?
Yes.
Which one?
The 18,000 photographs, negatives that were taken to the US by that lady,
No,
where the 3 boys from Guwahati helped in archiving those.
Yes.
Do you have any connect to that, or do you have any, or has it been taken to the US and you have no control over it and you cannot access it?
No, they will return again to me.
They have been returned to you,
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
Because I think one of the worries that we have is so many times people come in from abroad with a lot of money to do research,
Yes.
and they come into our local areas, regional, history and knowledge, and take away things.
Yes.
And
No,
then if we cannot
actually,
access it.
Actually, they will return to me.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Over here, yes. I would like to talk about Shillong once, Actually, one lady came to me from Delhi. She was professor of architect in the Delhi Architecture School. Huh? She came to me with the map of 1925. She came by mistake. She thought that my house is the house of Imdad Hussain, but I am Ahmed Hussain. So anyway, when she came to me and asked me that it is the house of Imdad Hussain, no, this is Ahmed Hussain. Well, anyway, then I said, you please come. And then she told me, I have got a map. You please, can you tell me which is the Dak Bungalow? So in 1925, the Dak Bungalow was, you know where the Dak Bungalow was at that time? The Hotel Vivanta was the Dak Bungalow. Then she asked me, where's the Rukut cottage? Then I told her that you are sitting over here, this is Rukut cottage. My house is Rukut cottage. So anyway, she started talking this thing, that thing, so many things. So I was answered everything. Then she told me, Acha, you tell me, which is, British has done so many architecture over here. What is the best architecture in Shillong, you tell me, done by them? Then I said, lake is the best architecture. Then say, well, how you can say the lake? So many things are there, so many there you can Then I said that if the lake were not there, whole Oakland would have come to near Raj Bhavan. So she was saying, yes, this is your thing is all right. This is the thing. Actually, from Crinoline Falls up to lake, there was a small stream all along the road. And the water used to come to the lake. This is the money. British, they have taken so many things from our place, is no doubt. But for Shillong, they have really give their heart to make Shillong beautiful. This is the thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I remember when I was growing up in the 70s, currently where Vivanta Hotel stands, that used to be the SP office.
Yes. And after that, after ISP office, there was tourism office also.
Okay. Yes. And following what Tarun has mentioned, that, about the eating places, how many here know that actually Regal Restaurant started from Lajumkra before moving to Police Bazaar. And Police Bazaar also had Yongsen Restaurant, oldest Chinese restaurant, which actually, the owner used to be very proud of a certificate issued by the Deputy Commissioner certifying that Yongsen was the cleanest restaurant in town. Next to Delhi Mistan, and Indian Diary was also there in between.
In between.
Yes. So these are the things, that we have to keep in mind, that our city, also had, these little pieces of, little specimens of treasure. It's not only the open shops that we have, it is not only the beauty parlors that we have, and it's not only the VIPs that we have. We have, other things as well.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd just like to also respond to ma'am who just asked that, who had that comment about the people coming and taking material from Mr. Ahmed Hussain and making sure that some is here. So that's why you should support local archives, libraries, and museums, okay? So I just wanted to put that out. Thanks.
Anyone who has negatives, which you want to be scanned, you are welcome to come to Northeast India AV Archive. Northeast India AV Archive actually signs a agreement with you. If you don't want your images to be put in public domain, it is not put in public domain. We just keep a copy, but we keep a copy just for preservation purposes. So local archives is the first place to go for your tangible memories.
Videotapes as well.
Anything which we have, videotapes, all kinds of videotapes. I think
Yes.
one of the very few places in the country which can now digitize VHS,
Yes.
Hi 8, Video 8, and we can suggest to you if you have film, we can also work. If anyone has 8mm film,
Or 16 mm.
16mm film, we can have a conversation about digitizing them. Because there must have been some people who may have had old Super 8 cameras. So we are in search of people who had Super 8 cameras and who recorded films in Shillong.
And documents.
Yeah, I mean, the next phase also would be documents, but right now we're mostly focusing on audiovisual material. Yes.
So I think on. Okay, I think we've got the.
Hello. So, as gatekeepers of, the archive and someone who collects stories, is there a decision on which kind of stories is being put up? And is there any kind of, decision? And how are these decisions made? So, yeah. And it goes to anyone in the panel.
Thanks, Nida, for that. Firstly, we do not want to be gatekeepers at all. I mean, archives, we're here as an archive to make sure that material that's contributed to the archive is as accessible as possible. So on our bit, there is no editing. We collect information, and it's up to researchers, up to people who visit the archive to make sense out of that. No gatekeeping whatsoever from our part.
So it's come as you are, give as it is, and you'll get what it was. It
Yes,
is.
of course.
So
Yeah.
there's no change. So I think on that note, thank you so much. And once again, I think I would like to encourage. Yeah, Mario?
Yeah.
Okay, Mario, please.
Just one last question. So I've been doing this archiving of symbols from the Khasis, and there's one interesting finding that I found in one booklet from home that we have in the library, and it was from 1992. And we see the emblem of the Sinkhasi. We see that the rooster has been done by the block print, and then at the back of it we see the circular element with radiating points, which resonates with the idea of the sun and the rooster. But over the years, I think the latest one that we see of the Sinkhasis, we could see only the rooster digitized with the circle at the back, which has changed on the description as well, where it represents the world. So have you come across all of these, the concept, retaining the concepts, and over the years it has, what has changed in your collection?
I'm sorry, Mario. We do not have that big of a collection, especially when you're talking about icons and symbols.
Okay.
Currently, we don't.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Sir Tarun Singh. Yeah, maybe after your research, you can.
Maybe
add to
your
the
research is what, it's a very, very important point you're making about changing iconography. And you are looking at 1992, but it's worth researching, going to Khasi Press, talking to Sinkhasi families. But there are, under BLEEP, which is the another project which is being exhibited there. It's called British Library Endangered Archive Project. And the material which has been digitized, and Desmond can tell you about it, they found this secular magazine almost, which Sinkhong Jingtip, which is a fascinating collection of even advertisements and those things, and which will become part of the, it will be publicly available, and that's why very important to make it publicly available. So, that is something like what you're doing is something which has to be done. So, you make the archive. It's not the people who are merely preserving. We all will make that archive. So that's why it's a community effort.
Thank you.
Or if you're interested in changing iconography, I think you should study the Bedengklam festival. Where those structures called kirot. There you will be able to detect the changing iconography very well. But in a very traditional, I have seen one very traditional example of Udeng Rong. Now, Udeng Rong is a totemic symbol of Karai Nongtung. Rai Nongtung. So whenever they have the Lakempong festival, they used to construct this totemic pole, which symbolizes the 6 or 7 founding clans of that particular Raj. Now, in the latest instance, I saw that they have also added Urinyao, the drongo bird, on top of this pole. So that is a fascinating example of changing iconography, which was done at the community level. So I found this very fascinating.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all about it. So I would like to thank Nathaniel, Desmond, Ahmed, and Tarun for a very insightful session. And I hope that through this engagement we can engage. This is just the beginning, and it will further grow into a larger engagement of our community, which involves all sections of society. So thank you once again. And to all of you, thank you for your time, and have a happy winter.
Thank you, panelists. I'll request you to please stay for another moment. Now I'd like to invite Congrida to hand over a small token of our appreciation for making it here and having this great discussion. And I'm happy, that all of you could come on the same platform. Of course, all like-minded people, and share all of your thoughts. Yeah. And we sincerely hope that you would keep coming back to Winter Tales for every other edition that we have in the future. Thank you.